Hello, we're going to present a solution to the resume best match challenge. Our vision: have an AI-enabled smart hire platform, a faster matchmaking, and an enhanced candidate experience. Features: a job recruiting platform, a job seeker platform, and a behavior that's impartial to gender, race, origin, or religion. Our design uses a very well-known strategy called retrieval augmented generation. Start with a user question or request, send it to the Azure AI search to find relevant information, send the top ranked search results to the LLM. Use the natural language understanding and reasoning capabilities of LLM to generate a response to the initial prompt. Our design and architecture considerations: we chose OpenAI's embedding model as is the best and the least cost. Our LLM model is GPT 3.5 Turbo. We use OpenAI Search and Cosmos DB to store embeddings and do a vector search. We use Azure's Document Intelligence pre-built read model to be able to read files for PDF, docx, even PNG using OCR. We use Azure Functions to build serverless backend for the application layer. We use HTTP trigger in specific, and this is cost efficient. We go to a product recording demo.
Hi everyone, this is Smart Hire, a product we developed to simplify the recruitment process. As a recruiter, using the application, on the landing page, click on Get Started to interact with the chatbot that uses a trained model to get the best matching resumes of job seekers for a job description or a desired skill. I'm going to try a few prompts to get the list of resumes from the training data provided. Now, let's try this job requirement. We can also restrict the number of resumes we ask for. I'm limiting the number of search results to one for our demo. It has to get the best resume for our requirement. To sum it up, this is a job posting for a Java developer who understands data structures and has also worked on Linux operating system. Now let's look at the result. Let's understand if the job seeker has the required skills. As you can see, the model returned the profile that was the best match for our requirement. Let's try something more comprehensive. Here, we have requested for a .NET developer who has experience in database development and UI development. Now let's look at the job profile it returned. Now that's great. It was able to identify the right job seeker for that requirement. We could also ask for a generic job skill in the prompt if we don't have the job requirements in place. Let's try something that can you find a network security specialist for me? Hit enter. All right, we've got the results. It did find a network specialist, network security specialist. Let's try something else. Okay, I'm looking for a male database engineer with at least 5 years of experience. The candidate is expected to have Oracle PL SQL experience. Let's try this out. Now, it was able to identify that this query is biased. Now, the application is impartial as it can identify gender, race, origin, and religion bias and it has responded with an appropriate message. Let's try asking for something not related to a job requirement. How was your day? Let's ask. It responded with an appropriate message mentioning that the query was not related to a job requirement. We just looked at how Smart Hire helps recruiters in their recruitment process. We have also built a product for job seekers who are trying to find the best jobs for their skill set. Let's get started. I am a job seeker using the application. Now I can ask the model to return the list of job requisitions matching the prompt. I'm including my experience in the query. I have included my skill and I have asking for job recommendations. An accomplished professional with over 10 years of experience in quality assurance. And we got a job that matches the requirement. Now let's continue. Now let's try a detailed job skill. Now for our job skill, it was able to identify this requirement that matches what we searched for. And as you can see, irrespective of how we search, it was able to identify the requirement that matches the skills that we have. And that's our AI enabled job recruitment platform for you. Thank you.
So, I hope you found our product demo interesting. And if so, why don't we take a look at what's under the hood? Let's see how the RAG strategy and our design considerations connect together to form our solution. Let's start with the test dataset of candidate resumes stored in a blob storage in Azure. Blob storage containers are storage buckets that can store files. These resumes could be of PDF, docx, PNG, or other formats. So therefore, to read these, we need a service that can read text files out of binary using OCR. That is where Azure's Doc Intelligence service comes in. Document Intelligence has a pre-built model called pre-built read that is capable of reading text using OCR and outputs text extracted from the resume. The text is then sent through OpenAI's text embedding ADA002 model to generate vector embeddings of 1536 dimensions. This is done for each resume. These vectors are then saved to a vector database right here. Vector databases are capable of having vector indices and doing vector searches efficiently. Now, let's consider a recruiter who logs into SmartHire to look for a candidate for a specific job requirement. And then she interacts with SmartHire's AI-enabled chatbot and poses a query, something like, I am looking for a senior Java engineer. The first thing the AI chatbot checks for is to ensure that the query is impartial and not biased based on gender, race, ethnicity, or religion. And therefore, it invokes the GPT model, which is capable of semantic understanding of the query and, and identify whether the query is non-biased. If the query is non-biased, then it will proceed to call the OpenAI's text embedding ADA002. It then generates a query vector embedding, which is now fed to an AI search which uses vector search based on cosine similarity. The query vector embedding is now used by AI search to find the top k closest resumes to the query right there based on cosine similarity. The top k resumes are retrieved from the vector database and then sent to a prompt generator, which basically augments the original query from the job recruiter and adds the top k resumes to the prompt as a context. It may look something like this. Which of these top K resumes is the closest match to a senior Java engineer position? We feed this prompt to our LLM GPT 3.5 Turbo, and the GPT responds back with the best matches to the original query with the resume links back to the recruiter. And this is how SmartHire gets the recruiter the best match candidate.
Okay, here we'll talk about the implementation details we followed for SmartAir platform. We'll go over the stages involved in setting up this application. As part of this, we have a setup to have the data set available and compute where we do some pre-compute and the live compute. So we'll go over the individual steps. As part of this, we define the data set, what are the elements we need to have persist as part of the content, and what is the embeddings element we need to persist in the database so that we can search whenever we use our prompts for any request. Once we have the index available, so we need to have the mapping between the index and where the data are going to be persisted. So currently we are storing the data in the Cosmos DB. We need to have the mapping between the index and indexer so that data can be, whenever there is a data inserted into Cosmos DB, it will be pulled into AI search. So the search will reflect the latest embeddings, the content available. Okay, so we use document intelligence to extract the content from the any resume or job registration user uploads. So any PDF, image, or docx file, we use Docker Intelligence to extract the content. Once we have the document content extracted, we need to convert that content into 1536 dimensional embeddings. So we use Azure OpenAI embeddings model for this to convert the content into a 1536 embeddings. Okay, whenever the user comes into the application, they will enter some prompt related to the job requirement. So pre-do we do pre-check whether that involves any bias related to race or religion. If it's so, we just stop the process there and return the error message to the user. So for that, we use GPT to check whether that prompt is bias or not. Once we finalize that the prompt user enter is not related to bias, we need to convert the prompt into embeddings. So here we are trying to convert the user enter prompt into 1536 dimensional embedding vector. Once we have the embedding, so we need to do a vector search on the AI search to find top K closest match, top 3 or top 5. So which will compare the embedding 1536 dimensional comparison, provide the similarity based on all the dimensionals. So we will get the top 3 closest match out of this vector search. Once we have a top 3 or top 5 closest match based on a prompt, we need to we use GPT to find out the skills of the different profiles and then rank based on the skills available compared to the what are the prompt entered. So we'll get the best matching from GPT. There is a code for that.
Ping service endpoint is used to monitor the overall status of the application. So if you see it, like we have like nearly 8 to 9 resources which gives the status of the overall status of the application. So individual application resources status is tracked in dependencies, like how many of the modules we have, it like everything is captured here. Here is the live response. Okay, so this is the status healthy and the individual modules here. Okay, thank you. And overall application status, the approach which we have taken for this implementation is Ping. We are exposing this as an Azure function. Internally, it contacts the Python SDK managed clients. Then it establishes a secure client connection to the Azure resources. So if the connection is established, then it's going to give whether the resource is active or not from the managed clients. So, but security client key vault right now it is policy is blocked. So that's why we directly contacting using the service endpoint and API key. We are directly hitting their services, hitting the actual Azure resources and getting the response back.
When creating and utilizing the Test Suite automation, we comprised our test cases around three main categories: functionality, performance, and usability. While we did have Selenium scripts on hand, the main deliverable of the project was the API endpoint. Therefore, we primarily utilized Postman to create a robust collection of test cases and ran the collection to make sure that while tuning the multiple underlying models, our application did not stray from its intended behavior. The major benefits of automation testing, time efficiency, accuracy, and reliability, lent themselves well to the categories of performance and usability. Our API was expected to handle the fluctuation of entries in the database, whether that be batch deletions or single additions. To maintain accurate records while maintaining a reliable response, the team utilized a delta mechanic anytime we received a new resume that did not yet exist in the underlying database, and the constant rerunning of the performance test suite helped guide us during implementation and provided feedback during regression testing. Likewise, the hackathon team explicitly gave us examples of bad responses, which they expected as part of our solution. To ensure the API had high usability for all potential users, we quickly laid out all of the common failure cases and maintained a usability subsuite collection in our Postman to automate the tedious task of testing each scenario. However, the test cases that fell under functionality were not easily automated and were in fact ill-suited for automation. While we could create test cases to ensure the number of resumes requested returned correctly, the actual review of the resume PDF returned had to be a manual process. While we did consider a Selenium script to fetch the resume and crawl for keywords, this would be insufficient. This solution utilizes an embedding model and not a keyword search. For example, when searching for a technology manager, resumes returned would not explicitly cite technology or manager, but instead return examples of a person who had multiple years of developer experience and portrayed skills relevant to leadership and teamwork. Lastly, there was an element of exploratory testing during the functional review. The embedding model used populates 1,536 vectors of relations. This oftentimes resulted in responses of resumes that the team did not anticipate, but were valid responses. For example, searching a random word like cream and receiving resumes for dessert chefs. In closing, a hybrid approach of manual and automated test cases was necessary to create a robust test suite that allowed us to utilize components of test-driven design during our implementation, speed up tedious and time-consuming tasks, and focus on the interesting edge cases that this problem had to offer. In closing, the Smart Hire application is a flexible and dynamic AI-powered service that meets the needs of an ever-evolving job market ecosystem. The relationship between the candidate and a potential employer should be a collaborative experience, allowing for the opportunities that offer personal growth and fulfillment to be easily identified and explored. The service is designed in such a way that integration into existing human resource services is seamless while maintaining accurate and useful recommendations. SmartHire offers value across the roles of recruiter and candidate by streamlining the search process, allowing for fewer missed opportunities and greater relevance in the opportunities returned. The team would like to take this time to express our gratitude for another great hackathon event. This year challenged our thinking and allowed the team to grow in our understanding of the applications of AI, as well as the interworkings of these complex and fascinating systems. Special thanks to the hackathon team for the support, and we look forward to SmartHire delivering a positive impact to candidates and recruiters alike. Thank you.